Lulu, testing? Yeah, my bad, guys. This is just what I do. If it's not that helpful, my bad. I'm trying. Like 20 minutes for each thing. But anyways, in this one, compression. First comes the EQing, consolidating what you want to keep, or at least the meat of it. So at least there's some direction. Next, some little tricks when it comes to compression. For the most part, you could do anything. You could compress whatever's, but usually people do kicks, basses, and I guess some melodies, but up to you. As for the stock plugins, best ones on FL Studio, at least, they're I don't know what I'm doing. My bad. I'm looking back at what I did. I don't know what I did. All right, an easy trick I got when it comes to compression. This is the starting out Fruity Limiter. The best ones usually within FL Studio are the ones you don't really need to like look and see with. So the Fruity Compressor, that one's probably a little bit better, but it's all ear. Same with the EQ. EQ2, it helps. But the EQ1, it gives it like a little bit more gruff to it. Just a little bit. Really the same thing, but you know, maybe 1% you might like it better. And once you figure out how to like use everything, practice on these ones, the first steppers, the ones with visual aids, and then you get to the auditory ones. Depends how far you want to take it. Honestly, this is just for people that want to like make it on their own, whether it be music beats or whatever's. As long as you get your songs out there to a decent state, everyone's gonna find it. The ones who love it are gonna love it. People are always gonna, not even really hate, just not like. So might as well just put it out as best as you can. Try not to overthink it. But yeah, so beginners, it's good to use the visual aids ones like the EQ2 and the Fruity Limiter. And then probably slowly use the other ones where it's just auditory once you get the hang of it, like the frequencies and whatnot, and where they usually go. Now, me personally, I don't really use the EQ1, but it's still a good plugin. You might graduate to like Pro Fab Filter and stuff like that. And yeah, what was I doing here? I'm just going back to the limiter. A nice little trick I learned when it's starting out. If you get, you get a little trouble when it comes to the compression, I use 2 limiters for visual aids, basically. But not right here. This is just what you could usually do when it comes to compressions, synths, basses, and kicks, because they need that punchy sound to be in one space instead of like bleeding into the other ones. So that's usually why you need compression on those things. But to each his own. Compress whatever you want. Now this is a trick. 2 limiters for separate things. I think right here I was a little bit confused, but one is input peaks and the other one output. So what does that mean? It means you have one limiter that shows what you're messing with and how far you're willing to move it, like all the parameters, the knobs. And the other one would probably be able to show you how it ends up. Visual learning. For visual learning before just straight up auditory perfection. For beginners. And a good tip to that is parallel compression. I mainly use it for vocals, but you could use it on other instruments, however you want to. Now here, I'm routing the kick or what I'm compressing to the channel where I'm doing the compression. See that? You see that? The kick is the only thing connected to this, and this is the only thing connected to the kick. But, the kick down the line, if you want to connect to other things, you could. This is how you do it. Parallel compression. It kind of helps. The first little channel or whatever is where you do the EQ, or if you want to put whatever it is that you're trying to fix, you do it in that. So the kick channel. And the compression, well, that's what it is. The other channel is where you do the compression for it. So separate one, you just connect them, and that's about it. You usually blend them in. Here you could connect different effects, but those things are only connected to whatever it is you're, writing them to. So in this case, reverb. There's this delay, effects. Just to keep it more organized and separate. You could change the parameters way more specifically. You could the sound is more malleable when you could just separate them and figure out what you want and how you want it. But it does cook your computer, so be warned for the beginner out there. So you see that? One kick tied to, or one kick by itself, but all those little 3 things tied to that. But you don't really need that. That was just a show. I just parallel compress. I don't put reverb or delay on a kick. That's for other things. Now back to this limiter. 2 limiters. One shows the input, one the output. I think right here I was just mixed up, Sometimes we confuse ourselves. Nothing bad about that. Nothing bad about that. We're all human. We all learn. Look at that. Look at that. I think that the top purple is input. The bottom green is output. Purple and green. That's all you need to know. At least when you're starting out. Remember to switch it to comp for compressor. It usually starts out as a limiter when you open this for the limiter. Now here I'm going to show you the differences. That's the kick. That's the input. Top one, the input, I think. You see that? I'm just putting random stuff just for the show, basically. Now look at that. All those different peaks, valleys, smushing them. And the bottom one is how it looks, or the effects of it after. So visual aid to whatever it is, you're starting out with. Helps. Now the usual ratio that people would like to use is 2-to-1, low attack, I think low release, sustain, whatever's, when it comes to kicks. So, but again, depending on the kick, depending on the whatever it is you're trying to fix, you could do it however you want. You could really, really freaking smush it. Or not. I don't know what the hell, I just got a text from the DMV. I don't even need to be in my mentions. But anyways, you see that? You see how sharply it went down? Either way, in the second limiter, you get to see what it's doing. Now this is basically limiter and compressor. You could use it for whatever you want. It is what it is. Compressing, I'm not going to explain every little thing, attack, release, sustain, but because I'm not that well versed in it either. I'm not that good, but these are the beginning things. I'd rather not mix you up, just give you some tricks or tips or whatever to help me. That helped me to help you. Now, what is this? What am I doing? Oregon. Yeah, I had no idea. Parallel compression, whatever it is. I got no idea. I'm looking at myself from, forward in time. No idea what my head state was at for this. Now the kick. What am I doing with the kick? Yeah, that was just for show. You can do it how you want to. For me, the fruity compressor, the other one, it a little bit more punch. But this one, to figure out what you might want to do and how to learn about compression, it's always good. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing here. Just some minor tweaking or whatever. But anyways, parallel compression, you have one source, the main source, and then the other one, the channel, which routes to the main source, is where you do the compression. And you usually slide them up volume-wise so you could, compression squashes the hell out of your instrument or whatever it is you're trying to do. So it fits and it gets kind of punchy. But because it's so squashed, you might lose like some, for lack of a better term, some airiness or some dynamic range in it, like the peaks or whatever. And I think because just like regular EQing too much stuff in one area, it lowers the volume because it sounds cluttered. It's kind of the same thing. So right here, when you're blending them in, the noises, because it's kind of the same noise but not really, it cancels out whatever it is that's there, but it also makes whatever it is you fix sound a little bit clearer. So it blends in pretty nicely, basically. Parallel compression, you blend in the compression to a proper level that you want. Slowly, surely, you mix it in. Now you can do that with whatever it is you want to, but I mainly use it for vocals. Maybe sometimes kicks. But yeah, it's a hard deal to like kind of get to it. So right here I'm just kind of blending it in. That's what it is. You just blend in one source connected to the other one to make it sound nice. I don't know what I'm doing here. No idea. I'm gonna edit the bass or whatever. What am I doing here? I don't know. You're following along with me. I did something here with the extra bass just for the sake of this or whatever. Can't really remember what. Oh, right. A good free whatever thing is a soft clipper. This works wonders. It kind of saturates the sound of whatever you're using, which is what makes it good. Sound Goodenizer kind of does that too. It saturates it just enough. Soft clipper, I don't really know the technical thing that it does, but clipping, it's when you hit that red and it pops. Basically when it goes red. And it shouldn't do that. Now professionals, they sometimes say, oh, well, just a little bit's good. Just a little bit's good, Everyone has their own thing. You do it as much as you want to. Soft clipper is just like an easy way to make sure it's loud without being bad for the whatever it is, that hit the red. Soft clipper is good for that. If you're wondering like how do rappers get those punchy 808s? Oh man, soft clipper. They freaking they pump it up on that 808. Whatever 808. It sounds fat. It's a little slightly distorted because they put soft clipper on it. Right here, I don't know what I was doing. I guess I was just gonna test soft clipper on like the synth or the bass. Synth bass. What am I looking at? New wave shaper. Alright. This one's also basically a distortion. This thing's good. Same thing. If you want to distort, distortion is a saturation for whatever it is you're doing. Makes it louder. but you know, it also sounds too crunchy, so you might not like it. I generally don't add too much of it. This is a good one. Saturation makes it slightly bigger, slightly wider. I don't go too in depth with what I do, but you know, it's for starters, for beginners. It's my workflow. And I get bored, might as well. This is where you play with the dynamics of it in the mix. This one's fun. This one is super fun to work with. But again, be careful. Because it is super, super distortive. You don't want to add too much unless you're doing like some Yeezus industrial type of sounds. And even then, it's not like all that good for that. I just always add a little bit. Or not always, but if I do, it's always going to be just a little bit of distortion on the tail end. A kick, what am I doing? I'm just routing it to the compressor or whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just psychotic. Oh yeah, I guess right here I was just saying don't ever route more than one thing to whatever it is you're trying to compress. Like if you have a synth and a kick, don't put them towards the same. Don't connect the parallel compression or the reverb or delay to both of them, because then that messes up the amount that you could do for each one. You know, don't ever do that. Just keep it separate. I mean, you could do it if your thing's getting, you know, busy, trying to save on RAM or whatever. But if you have the option to like have more maneuverability in your mix, do that. But you know, to each his own. We're all working with what we got. The computer's cooked, so I can only do so much with the mixing. You know, it is what it is. The real ones shine. Stars aren't made, they're found. What is this? I don't even know what I'm doing here. Just having fun with it. No idea. No idea with what I'm going. I guess right there, when I was EQing it, I made some space for the kick, added more bass. So this is mostly sub. I add the sub, take out the portion where the kick is, just to give it a little bit more to like, you know, room to breathe. And only 3 of a dip. You could do it more, you could do sharp cuts, but usually just 3 is good enough for what you're trying to do. And you never want to EQ too much of it too, because then it's like they don't blend in well enough, you know? That's all it is, just mixing to get to the point where it's nicely blended in. Because if everything's soloed out, you get the opposite effect where it's like, it's just pots and pans, you know? It just doesn't sound good. It's finding the right balance, making sure the things have their own space for what it is that you like about them is probably the best thing. Best thing to go with. You like the bass and the kick, you make sure the kick keeps the bass and the bass keeps the sub. Or if the kick has a lot of sub that you like, you make sure that it keeps the sub, and then the other bass is more of an upper bass and no sub. You know, to each his own. For mixing them, add more saturation and make them sound a little bit louder, wider. You put the distortion if you want. You don't really need to. Also, you know, changes the sound, so however it is you want to. Now, reverb. These are just effects you could put. This one, reverb 2, is usually my go-to. It's fun. It's good. And the delay. This one's good. Delay 2, but this one, where is it? Delay bank? No, delay 3. This one's cleaner. There's presets that you can use for them, and you can slowly like figure it out. If you're gonna use delay, make sure it's tuned to your BPM. It's just, you know, this makes it sound on key. Not on key, but on time. Doesn't make it sound weird to the ear. And what does that do? It has that vocal effect, and it makes it wider, and it makes it sound slightly louder, which is good. What is it I'm doing here? I don't know. I got no idea. Yeah, but I don't have much time. It's Halloween, and I'm gonna go get me some candy. Hope my neighbor's cool with it. But anyways, oh yeah. Oh man, I don't have much time. Oh man. To wet in the sound, you hit the easy way. Just make it clone, and then you